Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine Show, a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakening, offering listeners practical tools and soul-stirring insights to reclaim their inner authority. Today, we have back the beautiful Efrat Shokef, who is on a year-long journey with us, talking about the spiritually aware parent. And today we're going to be talking about raising children in transformative times. But first, let me share a little bit more about Efrat. She has been walking this earth knowing that everything is possible if we follow our intuition and say yes to the invitations that the universe so graciously offers us. She guides parents in parenting from their essence and becoming the humans their children chose to come to be. Efrat is a shamanic energy healing practitioner working with children, teens, families, and is the author of two amazing award-winning books, The Promises We Made and Universal Promises. So without further ado, welcome back, Efrat.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm so happy to be here, and I love these conversations and everything that comes up within them. And I'm trusting that they're serving and reaching those who need them. So,
Yes, yes. And today we're talking about something that is super important to me because I have a teen. And, as we are raising children in these transformative times, we could talk about so many things. And this week in general, uh, there have been so many things thrown my daughter's way, and she's having to navigate things that I never had to as a child or really anybody in my world. Just we have access to so many different things with the use of technology and now AI as well. And so I would love for you to maybe set some foundational understandings of what challenging times, if you will, could mean or does mean, and then what that might look like for us here in the future.
what that might look for us in the future, I have no idea. No idea. Think about it. When our your daughter was born, when my daughters were born, and then 3 years later, and 3 years later, and 2 years forward, and here we are with teens and kind of beyond, and we have no idea what's going to be, how our shared world will look like in a year, in 2 years, let
Yeah.
alone how they will raise their children and what kind of world will they be living in as adults. um, I'm seeing the number three, so I guess we're invited to break it down to three aspects.
Okay.
Okay. um, let's start with the highest level: change of frequencies, change of energetic processes. Veils are open. Veils are, for some veils are open, for some veils are more open. That means we are not walking on earth alone. um, just as we can journey to other dimensions through various tools. In the shamanic tradition, we use shamanic journeying. There are various types of meditations. There is communication with higher guidance and with other beings. That is always been, by the way, it's always been, but it's more available to more. And we can ask whether it's more available to more because it's the veils are thinner, or is it more available to more because there is a change of frequency, and more of us are aligning and raising our frequency so we can match those high frequencies, and therefore we can hear them and communicate with them? Or whether there are just more beings with various types of energies walking around us. Why are we accessing more? Why is it more available to us? And I do believe that it can be available for every human. I think most humans come as babies. That choice to become an independent baby is something we should talk about in another episode. But they come as babies, and they know their truth. They know their wisdom. and they try to communicate to us. And as parents, we try to do our best in teaching them what does it mean to be human in our environment. But most of us, unless really, really aware, starting from conscious parenting, intentional parenting, and we've talked about those, and into the spiritual shared journey awareness, we kind of go to fit in and we close on them. We close on them in those aspects of listening within, knowing their truths, and then they forget how to communicate with their own higher self, with their own wisdom, and with that guidance, luminous guidance that is walking among us and tries to guide us from everywhere, and also with our ancestors, Mother Earth, everyone. It's the communication with everything that is alive
Mhm.
and is available for us as support, as friendship, as in kinship, and we are unable to um, tap into it, not because we don't have that ability, but because we got confused. So one aspect and looking at just formative times is changing frequency in frequencies, changing veils in the openness of the veils. And another aspect is the very literal technology. And technology is interesting because I've met kids that's their gift, and they come here excited and curious about technology from very, very, very early on. And their parents, if they were like spiritually aware and conscious, they would say, like to me, but no, it's not good that they're on the devices all the time. And that's true. I don't think any kid should be in devices all the time, because kids need to embody their physical body, and embodiment does not go through devices. It goes through being outdoors, playing, running around, exercising, learning what this vessel that carries us through life is all about. Um, but it is our gift, and it is a gift that, if I would say, raised ethically into co-creation for the good of all, which is part of what I write about, um, they can create magical solutions that would really, really help humanity. So technology, as in my perspective, it's not a bad thing. It allows us to communicate from two different continents. 10 hours difference. It's a big thing. But
Mhm.
and then make it, available for people who somewhere around the world need this information. But it is about using it for the good. And we can get into AI and social media and all that stuff with children and teens in a moment. And then there is this third aspect: violence, war, confusion. That is, it's more than just what we hear on the news and so many of us actually experience. It's how our nervous system is being trained to operate on Earth. And the more contracted we are, the less able we are to live in the now. And maybe that's something we constantly go back to, because we have no idea what future we're going into. So it's that momentary, and we talked about it, I think, in the last episode or two episodes ago. That's those soul moments. Am I precise now? Am I aligned to the highest truths I am able to tap into now in this moment in my interaction with my kids, and teaching our kids the same? Am I aligned? Because we do not know what a month's forward may invite into our lives. That's a level of uncertainty that many of us live in around the world. And it shows up in different ways in each continent and each country, but the confusion and also the unraveling of, we won't use any of those negative negative frequency world, but the unraveling of a lot of bad that has been legitimized in cultures for centuries is
Mhm.
unraveling. It is coming up. And it is coming up because if you don't see what needs to be healed, you won't heal it. It's very uncomfortable. And as parents, I would say it's scary. It's scary because it's not that we didn't know all kinds of things exist, but having it in our face daily, in the news, in stories, in social media, in conversations. It's a good thing that it's all coming out. It doesn't make it easy. And unless we work with it, heal it, digest it, we are going to be giving a lot of confused guidance to our kids.
For sure.
So it's like, three aspects. I don't know, we could probably break it down even further about war, violence, peace, technology, and the changing frequencies.
Yeah.
And I think as we are talking about spiritually aware families and children, um, often that gap for them is much more, I don't know if to say necessarily larger, but it's more affecting in their lives. Because if a child, like I see in our first activities in the homeschooling, so a lot of the boys, we didn't have that kind of boy energy in our family, like my nieces, and not that. The boys are running around and they're playing catch, but they're pushing each other, and when you look at some of them, go beyond my what I would allow as a mom, but a lot of them, it's really just a game. It's really just a game. But a spiritually aware child would not be able to hold that level of delicate competition and violence that may be very natural to another child. And that
Mhm.
is also so much cultural dependent and what's going on and what's legitimized. And we see the variety even in our community. Um, so everything that is happening in terms of war and violence and competition and all those things that are happening, a spiritually aware child may freeze faster because of them. Their nervous system may freeze faster, um, um, compared to another child that may be able to grasp more.
Yeah.
The same with technology. They will be overwhelmed faster. They would notice the discrepancies between the good and the or the low and high frequencies, as you shared in a recent conversation, taking place in the information. What type of frequency does information offer? And even without guidance, they are often aware of those delicate, subtle messages without anybody telling them this is okay, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Um, but that means that they might be looking for a world which does not exist anymore around them in schools and in their social environment, because most kids are on social media at some age. Most kids are glued to screens to some degree. Not everyone, but a lot of them are. Most kids enjoy violent computer games. Most kids enjoy attention in a movie, which a lot of those highly sensitive, spiritually aware children and teens don't. So that gap of what we're experiencing and where it takes us is um, it's harder to bridge it for them. Even if we're trying to live in the now and say, okay, social media is what's in the now, we're letting some parents do that. It's important. I find I've learned that not to judge, because I don't know what is another's soul's journey and what do they need to experience and why do they experience it. This is not wouldn't be my choice as a parent. This is not something I would recommend. But we never know. Some kids, that's part of what they came here to go through. So we can go into more and more and more and more. And I already have thoughts, but what are
Yeah.
your reflections?
Oh my gosh. Well, with a 14 and a half year old, everybody, all her friends have socials. She does not. And she was talking with me the other day about feeling, she didn't use the word left out, that she almost like falling behind and not being up on the times or what's going on and in the know and all those things. And she's like, how am I going to communicate with my friends in high school? Because everybody communicates through the various platforms. And, I just kept saying to her, Daddy and I know what the research shows, and we're going to keep choosing what is best for you. And then something happened, which I won't share just for that person's privacy. Something happened at school to one of her friends, and my daughter, realized the impact and what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility social media had in that situation for her friend. And it is within that she then said, I never want socials. I know that social media really played a huge part in that person's journey, and that scares me. And I see how addicted that person is. And so there was this level of awareness. And then there's the other side, there's the reality, right? Um, and also, too, at least here in the United States, Kieran grew up with no computers for the first 12 years of her life. Um, and now all the schools do is work on computers. And actually, luckily here in Los Angeles, well, I don't live in Los Angeles, but in the state of California, Los Angeles is the first school district to go back to pencil and paper. And
Mm.
so I'm very excited about that because it's one of the largest school systems, if not the largest in the whole United States. So that's a big deal for us because these children are on devices all day long. So if we count school time and after school time, they're just on these devices. And I talk with her a lot about how your brain is making millions of connections and all of that. And if you're looking at a screen, what kind of connections are you making? And this, that, and the other. And so when you work with these spiritually aware children, which my daughter is one of them, how do you help them? I don't want to say not feel the pull of socials because that's always going to be there, but how do you deal with their fear of missing out or fear of being different and all of that? Like, how do you help them with that?
Before I
Because
answer your
your
question,
daughters don't have social media
yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
I wanted to,
older.
yeah, I wanted to say that first to our listeners, here are two moms sitting and talking here that their daughters do not have social media. And I would add that the close friends of my daughters do not have social media either. And just maybe we're one of a kind, but I know we're not one of a kind, and but we are spread around, and just know that if you think your kids don't need social media, you're not alone with it. And know that there are teens that understand that they do not want social media either. And yes, maybe there are a few, but there are such teens. So I think that reflection of you and I sitting here and whoever will listen to us has it's an invitation. Now, where does being feeling left out come from? It doesn't start in social media. It starts
Mm,
with a really deep embodiment of a foundational need to belong. If I belong to my family,
mhm,
if I have an inherent sense of belonging to the universe, of belonging here merely by who I am, which is uh, a sense of belonging and that every soul and every being is entitled to merely by being here, then my need for to be accepted, to be liked, to be like others, to play by social rules, even if they don't feel fit my inner truths. Uh, all that rises. Um, so our questions, that's in with working with families in shamanic tools and perspective. When we work like with the whole family, it's kind of that's part of something we might look for, because often that wound of not feeling belonging comes from earlier generations, genetic or energetic heritage. It can come from our soul's journey. It can come from many places, but it is a shared, I would say, global wound. So that when we tune into it and we bring our attention to what makes me feel belong and go back to that healing as a parent, as an individual, because when we heal our wounds, our kid may come with a piece of belonging wounding, but if we heal what we can, then they have less to heal for, then that need would be less prominent. Now, they still may want to fit into the group because that's the rules of the social environment. Nobody wants to go to school and just not communicate with anybody. A lot of them sadly do, until they find the others that are like them.
Mhm.
So it's also a matter of what do we communicate? And it goes back to our wounding and our social need to belong. Where do we want to belong? We want to belong where we are liked as we are, where our frequency, our vibrational frequency matches the vibrational frequency of others. We don't want to belong where we need to do all kinds of things that are not us to fit in, when we need to play by rules that do not fit our inner truths of how you treat other humans. And the thing is, we sometimes forget how wise the teens and children, all ages, walking among us are. They
Mhm.
have that wisdom, but if they see their parents confused trying to fit in, if their parents push them to fit in, or their grandmother buys them all those clothing that they wouldn't naturally wear, but that's what everybody wears, and she wants her granddaughters to be cool or something, all those games that are played because this is what they know, or this is what we know as parents, then we make it harder as well. So and as our time is short, I think it goes back also to the technology and AI, which is something we can't ignore in this kind of times.
Nope.
Technology is here to serve us. Technology is not here to replace our inner wisdom. And when we work with children from a very young age, and we teach them how to listen within and how to know what is theirs and not theirs, and to follow the truth and to be willing to stand up for what they know is true. Also, when we make mistakes, it's always also within that interaction, then they have that direct inner uh, um, uh, ways and knowing and to an innate ability of being connected to their own guidance, to their own higher self, who knows what their soul's journey is about. Connecting to AI is connecting to a collective, confused knowledge base. And as more are confused than aligned, that's the type of guidance it offers. It is a confused knowledge based on confused is a delicate word. So it can be great as a tool. It can be great in saving times. It is not great in giving us the answers we're looking for from within. And when kids are given the permission to know from within, they have all the wisdom that they need.
Yes.
So
Yes. I love all of what you said, especially the part around belonging. We've been actually talking about that a lot. Um, because throughout my daughter's school journey, if you will, she has had to learn to belong in so many different ways because she is so different. And she asks me all the time, why do people ask me how do I think like this? And, people notice that she is different. And I say, well, because they have grown up in a different way and they're very attracted to the way that you think, the way that you are, and things like that. But you also have to be careful. And this goes back to our conversation we had the other day. There's low vibrational energy and there's high vibrational energy. And we talked about that and the difference and who has been attracted to her higher vibrational energy and what has happened with those friendships. And of course, they've all fallen away within time. And but her high vibe people have stayed around and it's not a good or bad, which is what I was saying. I didn't want to call either person good or bad. It's just the frequency that she vibrates at. She naturally needs to um stick with the higher vibe people. But within that comes this learning that she has had to do around so many different topics that gives her this ability to work through missing out. For example, many of her class members went to DC. And that was something she did not want to do. And one of her very close friends, who is also high vibe, did not want to go either. And as they were together during that week, and all the other children are in DC, um, they were kind of feeling down a little bit. And I'm taking them everywhere, doing all sorts of fun things with them to make sure that they feel special too. And I said, but this is the greatest lesson for you because you are learning that you can still have fun despite the other thing. You can choose to change your reality in that moment and not feel left out and still have a good time. And their friends were calling him from DC, being like, where are you? What are you doing? I'm so excited for you. So it was a really great way for them to practice and exercise that muscle of not having a fear of missing out. And I think as parents, we are so quick to make it better, make them
Yeah.
feel better instead of letting them sit in that whole week they had to sit in. I'm not in DC with my friends, and guess what, when they came back, a lot of the stories weren't great. There were a lot of fighting and things like that, and so now they're like, I'm really glad I didn't go. So they got to see the full spectrum of emotions versus just putting a band-aid on it, making them feel better. And I think as parents, we're so quick to just want our kids to be happy, but that's not really what creates the happiness. What creates the happiness is doing the work with them, which is so much harder, and going back to that sense of belonging, like you talked about, and allowing them to feel a range of emotions, to be disappointed, to be sad, to feel joy and happiness. And so, as we conclude this show, I'd love to give you the opportunity to give any guidance and wisdom that you would want to give anybody who is raising children in this ever-changing time. What are some takeaways? Of course, your book always has good ones, books, I should say. But definitely share some thoughts before we part.
But first, maybe we need to continue this specific
We
conversation
might need to have a part two, and
yeah,
we can. I have
into
time now.
additional
If
episodes. Yeah. No,
I
I
have,
don't have the time now. I have a
okay,
session soon. But
okay,
yeah, but I think what we need to understand is that none of us know what the future holds and how life in the future will look like. And maybe AI will be the thing. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I would say, I don't want to say maybe war will continue and confusion will continue. I am a very firm believer in peace, and in our human ability to see and accept and love and share the abundance of the human earth with each other. But beyond that, the one resource we all have is our inner wisdom and our inner knowing. And that's the one thing I believe parents need to focus on within your shared soul journey, within your shared challenges. For each one of us, each family, it plays differently where we are, the circumstances. But the one thing we all share is raising children to be true to who they are and knowing how to access their own wisdom, because that does not go away. Nobody can take that away from you. And
Yes.
we gave here examples, and we can look at many other examples in ways, but that's the essence. That's the one important thing that, regardless of times, brings us back to ourselves. And I think that's
Thank you.
a
Thank you
lighthouse
so
in where we're
much.
going.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Well, if you have any questions for Efrat, she's in our community, community.sovereign-magazine.com. All her details are in the show notes, and she'll be back for some more. So like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nicole.